lost a job and not sure where to turn? Well, here's what I did to rebuild my path after my career unexpectedly ended. I want to welcome you back to my channel. And in today's episode, we're going to take steps that I took when I lost my job of 7 years. Well, first I want to say this. I lost my job during the downside of the pandemic back in September of 2021. Less than a year after my late spouse, well, just a little over a year after my late spouse passed away. So when I got that call, I went into the office, and when I knew I lost my job, the first thing that set over was panic. I panicked. I said to myself, oh my gosh, I'm a widow. I don't have any extra income coming in. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills? That was the first step that I was just panicked. And then I allowed myself to just regain my composure. And I got real comfortable, I got really focused on what my steps needed to take. But let me just go back a bit. I also had to allow myself time to give myself permission to just absorb this big transition. Like, I worked for this organization for 7 years, and I really loved the organization, but I also knew my time was coming to an end. So I allowed myself to grieve of I didn't get opportunity to say goodbye to everyone as I would have loved to have done that. My ideal would have been I'm resigning, but that didn't happen. It was a downsize. COVID, the transition of COVID, it was a downsize. So when I was laid off, I allowed myself to grieve, and then I went into action mode. The first thing I did, and I kid you not, I went to the gym because I said, I'm not going to let this take me under. This will not take me under. I went to the gym, I got on the treadmill, and I went on YouTube, and I started looking up advice on what to do when you lose your job. And the advice that was given was, begin to reduce your bills down to a minimum, your expenses down to a minimum. So I did that. I started to reduce my bills down to a minimum. It also said apply for unemployment. So I applied for unemployment. It also said feel no shame about this. If you have to get on public assistance for a time being, do that. So I did that. I got on public assistance. They call it cash aid, I believe. I got on food stamps. I got my unemployment set, and then I started to reduce my bills down to a minimum. I called all of my recurring expenses. I called each of the merchant, and I explained what was going on, and I asked for financial hardships options, and then I went into work. So what did I do? I made sure that I established a daily routine. I was getting up after a certain time, and during this time, I was in the process of building my business that I had at the time, which is Hearts Connecting, which is a virtual funeral and memorial service. So I facilitated virtual funerals for loved ones who were unable to attend in person. And we all know during COVID, a lot of people lost a lot of loved ones and could not bury their loved ones in person. So the devastation of not being able to attend your loved one's funeral to pay your final respects, I started a business doing that. And I'll share more about that in another video. So with it, I spent time on, I said I had my unemployment is for X amount of time. I don't recall the length of time I had my unemployment, but I knew it was not forever. So I utilized that time to focus on building my business, right? So after I set up my daily structure, I also had a colleague who was also laid off. So I connected with her, and she and I held masterminds. We supported each other in our entrepreneur effort. We supported each other in staying focused and to not let the loss of our jobs get us depressed and to not worry us. So that's what I did. Now let me say, as I was working on my business, I had great success in my business. My first 6 months, I made over $56,000. And in the following year, I made less than I made half of that. So eventually the business sizzled out, and I had to find a new career path. And again, I'll go into that in another video. But these are my initial steps that I took. Another thing that I did, I also discovered my hidden strengths during this after my job loss. So I reflected on what I've done in my past, that my achievements and my accomplishments, like with the job I had, I built 4 different programs within the organization: a summer camp, a day camp, and a fall camp. And this was something that did not exist prior to me coming into this organization. Then I had this program centralized across 6 school sites 1 in Southern Cal and 5 in Northern Cal. So I knew I had organizational skills. I managed a team of 24 initially, and then it reduced to a team of 14. I knew I had leadership skills. I knew I had administrative skills because this was a paid program. So I had to monitor the accounts of our students, which is over 300 students within our program. So I knew I had these skills. So I utilized these skills to organize my daily routine as I began to build my business. So also what I did was I joined free entrepreneur programs that were designed for, I don't believe it was for women. I don't believe so, because I think there were men in that program, but the majority of the attendees were women. So I joined entrepreneurship 8-week programs to help me fine tune and build my business. That's when I formed my LLC. My business had its own bank account, and I was off to the races. I joined programs that focused on helping entrepreneurs. So I had myself in a routine. I surrounded myself with positive people that would reinforce what I am trying to gain. Now, for whatever reason you're not an entrepreneur and you are at peace and comfortable with working a 9 to 5, then that's great. What you can do is start to immediately begin to set up your LinkedIn account, begin applying for jobs that appeal to you. Also, you may want to stretch yourself and learn a new trade or go back to school to strengthen the skills that you have, so that can make you even more appealing for the job market. Those are some things that you can do. And also, I want to say, when you look at this, like reframing your career setbacks as opportunities for growth. Because the truth of the matter is, I wanted to take a leap and I wanted to leave my job, but I was comfortable with getting paid. I was comfortable with having the car that I had, living where I lived, buying certain items that I had, whether it was food or going shopping, or I was comfortable with the lifestyle that I had. And I knew if I left my job, that lifestyle would not be the same, at least in the initial stages. So when I got laid off, it was actually a beautiful gift. So if you're laid off, see it as a gift, not as you're doomed. That is God helping you to get out of your own way and to step into the unknown and have faith and courage to try anew. So that's why I want you to look at this as an opportunity for growth. Look at this as a way to align yourself to where you want to go next. As I mentioned, gaining new skills. You can begin building a new network, going into different arenas that you are interested in, and just putting yourself out there to make connections. And you also may want to start your business. You may want to start, as some say, side hustle. What skills or passions or interests that you've been put on the back burner because of your 9 to 5. This is an opportunity for growth. Trust me, this is not a moment of doom for you. So with that said, now what I want you to comment with a challenge you're facing right now. And let us navigate this. I promise I will respond to you in the chat. So I want to leave you with this. Losing a job can feel like losing direction. But remember this, sometimes a setback is for a new journey. Until next time, my friends.